Guys, we're joined now by a guy who it's been a while since he's been on the podcast. And that is, I feel bad because when it comes to Titans football and this podcast, we just want to see more TDs. You can follow him on Twitter at @Davenport_NFL. He's Turron Davenport, the Titans beat writer for ESPN. Dude, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing really well, man. Every day is a good day, man. You know, we woke up this morning, so that was the first W, and we got more to come.
I like that.
Great
you know,
mindset.
we're going 365-0 this year. If you know, if every morning you wake up as a W, yeah, undefeated until you are defeated. It's like a playoff. Life is a playoff. One loss
Survive
and
in
you're out.
advance.
One loss and it's over.
I should, and let's go ahead and just start here. Turron, on the day this podcast drops, Wednesday, you will have an article up on ESPN about Robert Woods.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but with Bobby Trees on this Titans roster, Titans are going to the Super Bowl next year, right?
Anything's possible, you know, in the words of Kevin Garnett. But I don't know that I would pencil it right in or pen it right in right now. There's a lot of movement, a lot of talent has flowed into the AFC, and it's going to be fun to watch because the Titans play the AFC West this year. So of these new moves and new attitudes that are flowing, you're going to see it firsthand.
Robert Woods is interesting to me because, you know, last year, I think a lot of people use the same adjectives to describe the Titans offense, right? Predictable, bland, boring. Robert Woods really is none of those things. And at least that's how McVay used him in LA. We know about the back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. We know about the back-to-back 90-catch seasons. But he also, I mean, prior to this season, you know, in 2020, he had 24 rushing attempts and at least 17 in the 2 years before that as well. So with Todd Downing kind of, you know, under some pressure here, I think everyone acknowledges that. You bring in Tim Kelly. Now you can add a guy in Robert Woods who can make this offense a little more interesting, a little more dynamic. What do you think he brings? Not only just, you know, we saw Cooper Kupp speak on his, you know, what he meant to the culture for the Rams and how he kind of helped set the foundation over there. What do you think he could mean as a Titan?
I think he means a lot as a Titan, actually, and I'm glad you mentioned the versatility because that's something in watching him. You know, you see him on jet sweeps, end arounds. You see him, you know, you could even probably do some wildcat with him if you want. I wouldn't do that with him coming right back from the injury, but you could still, like, there's different things you could do, even have him line up in the backfield and run like a tall sweep with him. There's so much opportunity with a player like that. And it really is just a testament to his ability to get yards after the catch, which, as Mike Vrabel calls, are free yards. And these all work hand in hand with what they want to do as far as being great around Ryan Tannehill. So I think the acquisition is good. I'm not saying, like, I'm not going to get into, hey, this is better than Julio Jones or anything like that. I'm just going to say that this is a good thing for what the Titans want to do right now. And it also saves them cap money.
And we know that John Robinson, I mean, he's proven time and time again that if he makes a mistake, whether it's in free agency or the draft, he's quick to move on. He doesn't let that linger. And that was kind of what happened with Julio Jones. Were you at all surprised by the decision to move on from Julio?
You know, it's funny because I happen to be fooling around with overthecap.com. I was fooling around on there. This was back in January, you know, after the loss. And I said, well, let me see what the post-June 1st designation. It said $9.5 million. I was like, whoa. It could happen. Mm-hmm. I was like, nah, man, they're going to try to make that work. It just seemed like it was, you know, too much of something they wanted to do. I was surprised that they didn't, you know, let it work out. But, I mean, as John Robinson said at the Combine, when you have a veteran player like that, you know, who's dealing with injuries, you got to look at it. Okay, is this an isolated thing or this is something that's continuous? And it was continuous throughout the season, you know. So I think that kind of gave us a prelude to what was going to happen, but it still surprised me.
Now going back to Robert Woods, speaking of injuries, obviously, I tweeted earlier this week that John Robinson seems to have a love for people who've been previously injured more than Bart Durham. So like, is there any concern there with Robert Woods coming off this injury? Like, because I'm just scared to death that it's going to be one of those things where it's a great trade and I'm excited for Bobby Trees, but I feel like my man's going to be, he could be hurt, or it could be a nagging injury that lingers, and we could have just another Julio 2.0 situation.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's something that should be worked through mid-August. So that's a positive thing, but you're right, that lingering. I mean, Bud Dupree was, somewhat ready to go, but not ready to go. You know what I mean? So
right.
I think more, I would say like week 5, week 6 is when I would more or less expect to see Robert Woods, the pre-injury Robert Woods. And the thing that you have to hope is that with it not getting off to a start of him being there from the beginning of camp is what happened with Josh Reynolds. And that train never got on the tracks.
Right.
Is what happened with Julio Jones. And that one was just kind of like start and go. Ryan Tannehill is a huge trust guy. So you need to be able to get as many reps with him as possible from the jump. And I think that's really going to be the key in them developing that chemistry. But I will say this, Robert Woods is a premier route runner, and he is going to be where you want him to be, when you want him to be, so you could trust throwing the spots. And I think, and I actually had a little interaction on Twitter about this because I mentioned that, and someone said, well, is that going to help the interceptions? And I will say this, if you go back to the Texans game, the one that they unexplainably lost at home with the 5 turnovers, one of those 3 interceptions was Nick Westbrook-Ikhini's fault. Not Westbrook-Ikhine. It was
good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, because we love NWI on this podcast.
Yeah.
He is he's our guy.
Let me get that right. Because so what happened on Dez had a post corner on this side. Chester Rogers had a crossing route. Tannehill threw it to a space where Chester Rogers was going to be, and he was there. But the problem was Westbrook. I want to blame him. Let me stop.
Hey, them's fighting words, Turron.
He didn't run it with enough urgency to drive Desmond King out of that area. Desmond King saw the route was run, halfway. He came off of it, and that's how he picked that pass off. So I say all that to say, being where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be, does make a difference.
You mentioned trust with Ryan Tannehill and how that's so important. And it's not just for Tannehill. I'd imagine all 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL would like to have a solid level of trust with the guys they're throwing to. Robert Woods has been as dependable as it gets. I mean, 1.3% drop rate, which was, I believe, tied for 6th lowest in the NFL. You tweeted that out.
Per ESPN stats and info.
There we go.
There it is.
We got to cite the source. But, I mean, when A.J. Brown does so many things well, but there are times whether it's a lack of focus, just him getting ahead of himself, struggles with drops at times. And it's typically, in the first half of the season. But by bringing in a guy like Robert Woods, that trust level with Tannehill, that should be there pretty quickly as soon as he's at least healthy and, they get enough reps in the offseason.
Absolutely. And one of the receivers to have the best year with Tannehill was Jarvis Landry. And Jarvis Landry is an equally trustful type of receiver. And, he had his best year with Ryan Tannehill as a quarterback, and they connected all the time. And I could see something like that happening. And I'll drop another stat on you from ESPN Stats and Information. 49% of Matthew Stafford's targets to Robert Woods last year resulted in first downs.
Oh, wow.
So
love that.
There it is, another opportunity to move the chains, right? So I think if you look overall, the acquisition of Robert Woods is a solid one for the Titans, just from, as you said, the dependability side of things. How many tip passes did Tannehill have that turn into interceptions? I could count probably 2 or 3.
A handful, yeah.
That's not something you're going to see as much with. And that's not to say Tannehill is not to be held responsible for interceptions because he had his share. Trust me.
Yeah, right.
Responsibility, but I think this is going to help the situation more.
Our friends at Relax the Back have been helping people sleep good, feel good, work good for the past handful of years. And it's all because of CEO Glenn Word. Now, you've heard me talk about Glenn Word's story, how, he got in this terrible car accident and he was looking down the barrel of multiple surgeries. And before going through with the surgery process, Glenn and his family decided, you know what, let's seek other ways to maybe correct our posture, our spine, our neck, and just start feeling better. And that's exactly what he did. He started Relax the Back, which is located in Green Hills. And the Relax Back team sets out every day to help people in the Nashville area to, like I said, work better, live better, and feel better every single day. If you're like me and struggle with insomnia and posture issues because you're bent over on a computer all over the day, hunched back style, then Relax the Back is the place for you because they have a variety of chairs that are able to combat neck and back pain and help adjust your posture for those of us who sit at work all day long. And, when you're going to bed, they've got some of the best sleeping technology you're going to find. They have Technogel and Tempur-Pedic pillows and mattresses to maximize your sleep every night and have you waking up feeling great every single day. Go check them out. 2020 Glen Echo Road in Nashville, Tennessee, right across the road from the Green Hills Regal movie theater. If you're going to see Batman, stop by and grab a Technogel pillow. I'm telling you, they are cool throughout the night. They're fantastic. Your neck wakes up feeling exactly how it should, exactly how it's designed to feel. But if you're unable to visit them in person, check them out online. Stores.relaxtheback.com/Nashville. One more time, stores.relaxtheback.com/Nashville, and get to feeling better today. And when you go in, make sure to tell them that A to Z Sports sent you.
Man, I just had a question, but now I got distracted, and so I'll ask you this. Yesterday, AJ Brown, Mariota signs with the Falcons.
Falcons, yeah.
AJ Brown, as he does, shoots off a tweet. AJ loves to tweet. And he tweets out, the best leader I've ever been around, giving love to his guy. Obviously, this sparks a debate. What doesn't spark a debate these days in Titans Twitter? But amongst Titans Twitter, everyone, half the people saw that as for what I think it was. So I guess you could group me in this category of just a guy praising his dude, someone who's been dragged through the mud over the years since he left Tennessee, really, and now is getting another shot, praising him, hyping his dude. But everyone else saw it as, oh my gosh, best leader I've ever been around. Wow, veiled shot at Tannehill. Turron, you're a guy who's in the thick of it. You're in the weeds every single day with this organization, this franchise. First of all, where do you come out on that debate, I guess? How did you read that tweet? And is there anything there for us to read into it?
I don't think there is. Like, I have a girlfriend, right? And, I look at Carrie Champion and say, wow, that's one of the prettiest women.
Yeah, right, okay, right.
But that's not to say I want her instead of my girlfriend, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's more things to a quarterback-receiver relationship than just the leader, So I don't think it's a slight or anything like that. If you want to know the relationship with Ryan Tannehill, like, that's so many times, even just talking on the side, A.J. Brown has stood up for Tannehill. And you even hear him in his press conferences. He said his success is because of Tannehill. So I don't think there's anything there. There's just something about, I know personally, because I went through 3 different quarterbacks in college, and they all were, my best friend. And every time I got a new one, it's like, hey, man, I love you, man. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
That's how it works, So
right.
You look at A.J. Brown, he wore number 8. To one of the preseason games that year in 2019 for Mariota. So he's just shouting this guy out. That's all.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that because I felt the same way when I saw it. When I saw people going off the rails with it, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" Anything can be made into Tannehill slander these days.
Yep.
Now, Turron, I remembered my question I was going to ask you,
Okay.
and it is a Robert Woods question. It's a bit of a follow, I guess, because and sorry for the ADD questioning here. We're just
Hey,
kind
it
of
happens,
popcorning
man.
all the time.
Wait till you get to be 45. Then it really.
All right. So Robert Woods, Jack talked earlier about how like the carries that he gets, and he's a very versatile player. Like you can do so much with him. But my question is, will the Titans do so much with him? Because I felt like there was very little, or at least comparative to what Arthur Smith was doing when he was here. But offensively, there was very little creativity with at least a steep drop off from the year before in creativity. And then you see the film on Robert Woods and you see the stuff Sean McVay was doing with him. And you're like, oh my gosh, that to me felt like what a good play caller is. Are we going to get any of that with the Titans? Like, do you see the Titans maybe picking things off of what the Rams did and trying to implement it next year to use with Robert Woods? Or do you think it's Robert Woods is going to have to meet more of what the Titans are already doing?
I think it's going to be a blend of the two. And all right, so you look at what Arthur Smith did a lot 2 years ago, right? He did more with AJ Brown as far as the jet sweeps and the different things like that. He lined up Jonnu Smith in the backfield.
Right.
I think this is something that you're going to see Todd Downing, especially with Robert Woods, do, because now you have an additional piece that you could do that with. Last year, I get it. Like I've even, pounded the table. Hey, you got to use AJ Brown more like Deebo Samuel and getting more touches. But at the same time, last year was a difficult year for Brown as far as injuries, and things that he was dealing with. I would imagine this year is something we'll see more Brown, but Woods too. But then also just to kind of drop a draft nugget in there, a guy by the name of Chig Okonkwo. I think that's how you know. Okonkwo. Chig Okonkwo, out of Maryland, the tight end.
If you just say it fast, like Jack and I do, whenever we don't know the pronunciation name, we say it super fast. And
you get away with it every time.
Yeah.
You,
and
you know what
steamroll
happened?
through
Initially, I thought the pronunciation was Okonkwo, but it's Okonkwo. So I was just trying to remember which one was the right one, but it's Okonkwo. Chig, we'll just call him Chig. He's a versatile player in the Jonnu Smith mold. So I think, and he is someone that the Titans talked to at the Combine and also at the East-West Shrine Week. So you get a guy like that, and he actually told me that Jonnu Smith is one of the players that he feels he's very similar for, but he's more athletic. So you look at that, right? You get a guy like that, and you have a Robert Woods. Now you could do some of the different things as far as moving guys around. You're not necessarily going to put Jeff Swaim in the backfield, you know what I mean, and have him catch passes out of there and motion and those type of things like you did with Jonnu Smith. So I think the pieces being there has a big influence on it too.
While we're on the subject of tight ends, the Titans made another move. Austin Hooper's been brought in. A lot's been said about the Jeff Swaim 1 year, $3.5 million deal. People feel like they may have overpaid for a guy like that, who really, I mean, ideally, I think.
Turron's shaking his head just as you're saying it, just as you're reading it off.
Ideally, you have Jeff Swaim on your offense. You probably don't want him to catch that many balls. You have other guys who are better at doing that than Jeff Swaim. But that wasn't the case for the Titans last year. He contributed where he needed to, and he was rewarded this offseason. But Austin Hooper signs a 1 year, $6 million deal, which while Jeff Swaim's deal felt like it was kind of an overpay, Hooper comes in on what I would consider as kind of a bargain. I mean, this guy in his last 2 seasons in Atlanta caught 70-plus balls. He's proven that, he's able to be relied upon in the passing game, had a 700-yard season in Atlanta, and then goes to Cleveland with, more of a run-focused offense with Nick Chubb and Baker Mayfield, who can't make, a bunch of the throws and, was injured last year as well. How do you think he fits into this offense? And do you just mentioned a tight end that they have interest in, or they've shown interest in at the Combine. Do you think that they are going to find that third guy in the draft, or are they going to go for, another veteran ad, maybe on a 1 year deal like they have with these 2 guys they already have?
I doubt they add another veteran. I do know that they really like Briley Moore, who's coming back from ACL injury, which happened in training camp, the undrafted free agent. They also like Tommy Hudson. So I could see those guys being in the mix. but you still need a very athletic type of tight end. I know John Robinson was at Texas A&M's pro day. There's multiple guys there. One of them is Jalen Whittemire, who I think would match what the Titans want to do as far as getting a move guy. Isaiah Likely out of Coastal Carolina is someone I could see as an option. Now, I personally don't like him because I feel like he is allergic to blocking, but that's just me and watching the film that I watch. But he's a very good pass catcher. He's athletic, and you can move him around. So long story short, I think they are going to go to the draft. I know just from being at the draft, I talked to 7 different tight ends that said they had meetings with the Titans. So, I mean, that tells you right there that they're, really shaking the weeds, right, to see what comes out and not leaving any stone unturned.
You did spend you spent the whole time in Indianapolis, and you were all
absolutely.
over Twitter the whole time. You were up there with some great sound bites, content, everything online. The Titans fans needed.
At T Davenport _NFL. If you're not already following Turron, you're being a Titans fan wrong, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But you were all over it up there, and I want to hear some guys. You've already mentioned a couple. Some guys maybe at the wide receiver position the Titans are interested in, and then some tackles. Because I feel like the right tackle position has to be addressed in this year's NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
Are there a few guys that you have in mind that you like more than others?
Yeah, well, we can start a receiver. I think the option number 1 is Chris Olave. He's a beautiful match for what the Titans want to do. He actually reminds me a lot of Will Fuller, but just a more crisp route runner. And I think I just want to see, because I know Will Fuller had some struggles against press initially. I want to see how Olave would be in that situation. I think he will be fine, but it starts with him, and the Titans met with him. Jahan Dotson is another one that I really like, and I know that he had a formal with them as well. So those are 2. Traylon Burks I think would be a solid match. I don't like him for the Titans as much as I like Dotson or Olave, just because that vertical aspect that they bring. But Burks is a guy that you get that big bully type receiver in the slot, right? And you could even, Woods could play the slot too. So it just gives them another kind of theme of run after catch, like angry runners that they like to have. So Burks would be a good option. I tell you a guy that no one's really talking about that I think would be beautiful for them. And that's Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. And I know Titans fans, a little nervous about getting a guy out of Western Michigan, but you evaluate the player, not the school. And Sky Moore is someone. Actually, he's going to be on talking with TD this week. He literally undresses cornerbacks that come up and try to press him. So he would be good. He gives you yards at the catch, polished route runner. He's another one. He could get vertical out of the slot, but if you want a vertical guy, and I'm talking like first 3 rounds, I could give you a couple sleepers, but first 3 rounds, those types. Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. He's 6'4", 218. Got gas. He's a vertical guy. So those are some receivers. You asked about offensive line.
If you have gas these days, that is a prime commodity, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, you need to stretch the field.
Yeah, well, and just
it's expensive how
high prices are right now.
Oh, yeah. I was in Atlanta last weekend, and I have to put 93 in my car, and I was over $5 a gallon. I was sick.
It stings. But so some of the offensive linemen the Titans had meetings with, were there any guys that stuck out? Because I think a lot of Titans fans have been arguing all offseason. Do they go back to that offensive tackle well in the first round? Do they go receiver? You mentioned some of the guys you like. Number 1, where do you think that they'll go with that first round pick? And if they do go tackle, who are a couple guys to keep our eyes on?
Yeah, I think it depends on what's there. I know Zion Johnson from Boston College, Marquise Hayes, they showed interest in both of those guys. Hayes is he would more be in the range of the pick number 90 in the 3rd round. But obviously Johnson is a first-round prospect. At 26, I can see that. In fact, Mel Kiper, he mocked Johnson to the Titans at 26. Gives you that guard center type of, so you can plug him in at guard this year, put Radens at right tackle, and then once Ben Jones moves on, he can bump inside to center. Which ironically, that's what Ben Jones did. He and Brandon Brooks when they were selected together in Houston. So that is somebody. Right tackle wise, in a perfect world, Trevor Penning would be there, but he's going to be gone. I think when you look at Tyler Smith out of Tulsa, he's another one that could play multiple positions. He could play tackle or guard. I see him more as a tackle. I'm trying to think of another one.
It's so impressive how you still keep track of all of these names.
I'm like sitting here like just marveling at your.
Oh no! What I'm doing is nothing compared to some of these guys, man. So I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean it's nothing compared. There's a few tackles I remember them showing interest. Those are the ones. There's also a guy out of North Dakota, Matt Walesko. He would be a little bit of a later pick, but he's an athletic tackle. I think he could play right tackle for them and actually fit right in what they want to do as far as the zone blocking scheme and those things.
You talked earlier about a guy who's, saying how he was allergic to blocking, and I can't get that visual out of my head of just someone.
Watch some Coastal Carolina film. You'll see what I'm saying.
just sneezing nonstop, or just like breaking out into hives every time.
No part of it. It's bad.
Oh, he is a Turron Davenport, a member of the Pro Football Writers Association. Guys, I'll say it for a third time in this interview. Give him a follow right now. Smash that follow button. In fact, break the follow button. You hit it so hard. At @TDavenport_NFL. Honestly, doing some of the best work out there when it comes to covering your Tennessee Titans. Turron, dude, we love having you on. It's not going to be so long next time we get you on. I want you to know that, okay?
No problem.
We apologize that it has taken us so long to get you back onto the top, but you are back, and we appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah, no, appreciate you guys having me on. I got the text. It was kind of like the text that you send like when you're in college, right? And you send it. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. You didn't hit at any of the bars or clubs, so you're like, are you up?
Yeah, you up?
You up? But I didn't text you at 1 a.m. for those that think I did. It was like it was
2
p.m. text. But I know in your world, when you wake up and just grind all day with anything and everything Titans, it may feel a little later.
That's 1 a.m. to him. Man. Yeah, for sure. Right. Did when you did get that text from us, the "you up" text, did your aforementioned girlfriend, did she get jealous? Like the way she does when you say that Gary Champion is so hot.
No, she understands the business though.
Okay, all right.
You're the man, TD.
Thank you so much, TD.
All right, for sure.